It's 7 o'clock, so let me call this regularly scheduled monthly meeting for September. Called order, roll call, please.
Mullen,
Here.
Noble,
Here.
Wagers. Here. Wagner. Here. Done.
Absent. If you told me the pledge of allegiance, please. Salute, pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
All right, now is where we have the opportunity for the public to be heard.
And we have Brenda listed here, Braden Forster, Bob Lemons, and Brandy Jarvis.
Okay, who is it first?
Braden Forster.
Braden Forrest. Let me remind you, sir, that you have a 5-minute time limit and that the board will not, address you or answer any questions that you may have, but feel free to speak for the 5 minutes or less or what you want to talk about.
Thank you, sir. The area where you want me to stand.
Anywhere you feel comfortable.
Hello, my name is Braden Forster. I'm a sophomore debater, and I'm here to shine some light on a situation that's been going on with the debate program. Debate is an influential class, a class teaching kids how to work with one another, do research, and be the best they can be. This class that can enable kids with many scholarships and set up promising careers has been and is currently being neglected. The first week of school, we didn't have a teacher, not even a key to our own room. We sat in the hallway waiting, and when no one would show up, we would get the key ourselves from the office and sit in the room alone. 19 students, mostly freshmen, sat alone for a whole hour for 3-4 days. Myself and some students taught the class. This happened for days, and every day that I could, I was in Mr. Trout's, the principal's office, fighting for at least someone to watch us. We made a deal. He promised me by 8:30 that the teacher would be in the door, be in there with the door unlocked. We sat in the hall and waited. Nothing happened. I tracked him down in the school and asked for an explanation. He claims that a teacher that was supposed to watch us got stuck on emergency tardy duty. She could not make it. I tracked that teacher down. I asked her if she knew anything about having to come up and watch us. She had no idea. Mind you, this is after she was done handing out tardy slips. She had no idea. He never told her what she was supposed to do. If Mr. Trout had the intention in the first place, she would be informed before, at least, but he didn't even tell her afterwards. She had plans, to go about her job, and it wasn't her fault. Mr. Trout just had an excuse to hold us off. We almost had no hope, no teacher, no debate coach. Mrs. Canfield took over, the drama teacher. Bless her heart, she's not a coach, and she's trying her best to teach us a lot of new students on how to debate without having any prior experience. The same students that were teaching the class are now struggling to teach her. She dropped her plan period for this, and by law, she must have one. And this is not the first year of neglect. Last year, the administration had all summer to find a coach and did not. They dropped the class for the first few weeks, but the current president of debate got one with a single email. She did in 1 week what the current administration could not do for months. The coach last year loved teaching us, but he was never paid. He was not an official teacher in the school's eyes, and he was never compensated for his time. He was taking kids through tournaments through his own money. We didn't even have grades for that class all year until the last week of school because he was not given access to the grade book. He could not do it this year, so they couldn't find another one. I'm telling you, the school board, this because the current people handling proven that they can't. I feel like you deserve to know that 19 students sat for days alone in a room, and our principal, Mr. Trout, told me, and I quote, "Just be good." Just be good is what he said to me as a sophomore as he walked off, ultimately leaving 19 kids under my responsibility. 19 kids is a major jump from last year. Debate had roughly 6 kids, and now 19. 19 freshmen, roughly, with no experience, have been nervous and debating on switching out because of all of this. This is a program that is wanted in the school. Kids are wanting to have this class. I love this class. It has taught me so much about my career that I'm thinking about going into. Debate is preparing me to be on my toes on all information that I need to have. I feel like I have to speak up so we do not lose this class that is needed for so many careers with Charles Page students will be having. We don't want to lose this class. We are doing everything in our power to save it. I'm talking for myself and 18 other students who are trying all they can to save save our debate at our school. So I tell you this because we need change. We need a debate coach who is being paid for time and his effort and we were tired of being shoved off like we're nothing. I thank you for your time, and I hope you can maybe make some changes regarding all of this.
Thank you for, bringing that to our attention and thank you for having the, fortitude to stand up in front of this. I know it's not easy, but we appreciate you. We appreciate the students like you that step forward and have a passion for what they like. So
Thank you, Mayor.
thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks. I think we have next.
Bob Lindsay.
All right, Bob. Same thing applies to you, Bob.
Okay, I can live with that.
You bet.
In fact, I'm gonna be shorter, so I'm gonna add some more to this. A little over a year ago, a group of us graduates from Charles Page High School, representing the classes of 65, 66, 67, started work on promoting the plaque to display at Charles Page High School, honoring the first Black students who attended Charles Page in the fall of 1964. It's hard to express how pleased we were with all the support we received, not only from our classmates, but from the Alumni Association and from the administration. The courage it took for those 9 Black students to come to Charles Page that fall was amazing. I was part of that class, and we had the first Black classmates graduate with us. The desegregation was so successful and peaceful, the entire Sand Springs school system was integrated the very next year. In June of this year, we had a ceremony dedicating the plaque of those brave students, and over 100 people attended that event. Now our state is passing laws against making laws against being able to teach Black history and ignoring the racism that exists in our state. The card event at Charles Page last week, involving cards promoting white privilege, being distributed by a boy that was sent to school by his mother with over 100 of these cards, is incomprehensible to me. This is just a great example of how white privilege is being promoted and must be stopped. The only way to accomplish this is to be allowed to teach history honestly and properly in our schools. We must start now. Thank you for your time. Now I'm
Thank you,
going
sir.
to use a little bit of my time to add to his comments.
Sure.
I was on the debate team all through high school. And all through that period, I thoroughly enjoyed it. We had a wonderful debate coach, Wendell Sharpton. Many of you are probably familiar with him in somewhere. He was superintendent of schools for a number of years after that. But he was a great debate coach. And we went all over the state, won a lot of tournaments, had a great time. It's a great experience. And I very much encourage it to be supported.
Thank you, sir.
Brandy Jarvis.
Great. Okay.
So I didn't prepare anything like these fabulous gentlemen ahead of me. I just had a concern that I wanted to bring up about the homecoming parade. I know that's coming up at the end of the month. Something I've been a part of the cheer program for 12 years now. And one thing I've noticed is when the parade finishes going through, all of the police barricades are removed. And you've got little ones on trailers with very little parental support. There's a lot of kids and very few adults on those trailers. And you've got adults driving 35 miles an hour past these kids. I just wanted to see if there was something that could be done to change that, maybe keep the police barricades up longer until all of those little ones get back to their starting point so that they all make it there safe.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to our Paysetter Awards, which we really like to start off with. So go ahead, Mike.
This is always a fun time for me, and I think the board, because we have lots of superstars in Sand Springs, and a lot of everybody, Carrie Schlehuber comes to me, come up here with me. Carrie Schlehuber is a superstar in lots of areas. I've known Carrie since she was about this. And her family, she came from a wonderful family, and she has a wonderful family, and it just shows what all she does, not just for the school district, but for the community, state of Oklahoma. She is an integral part of a camp for special needs kids that she just goes above and beyond in everything that she does. So when I see awards for Carrie, I'm not surprised. This is just what she does. She just steps forward, and Superintendent Durkee nominated, Carrie for the, Sand Knight Pace Setter Award because of a couple things that she did this summer, and just two of many. Because we've got a new computer program coming up, which I don't know what it's called. You guys have to help me out with that. But what I understand that Carrie did was she just says, I see a need. You don't even have to ask me. I'm gonna go take care of it. And she went and took care of it in addition to her duties that she does as a special programs director for the district, and which is a more than a full-time job. And that's just what she does everywhere she goes. So when I say superstar, you could put her picture on that in the dictionary, and that's what it would be. So we appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
And I'm gonna
Be with our attention.
please. Can tell, and so does her, and Superintendent Durkee, you may have things that you want to add.
Say you find those people that are willing to go above and beyond. And what I love about her specifically is you can take a project, you hand her the baton, she takes it and runs, and never worry in my mind about getting done. And that's what she did this summer. It was a pretty tough conversion from Wingate to Infinite Campus. We had a very prominent team member that was on maternity leave. And so just taking up the slack between, you're going to hear another success story about that. But Carrie went in with the pre-enrollment portion that was not ready and just took it over and made it happen. So you don't find people like that every day. And we certainly are very thankful that Carrie is a CNI and works for us.
We'll allow you to address the group as well. Have a shot at words before.
Yeah. Well, I just don't like it to be about me. I like it to be about other people. So I'm going to give the credit to my admin assistant, Mindy, and then my three amazing ladies at the Enrollment Center, Pam and Madison and Angie. They're also fabulous. I couldn't have done everything that I was doing without all of their help. So they really worked their tails off all summer and helped us get everything in place. So I like to brag on other people, not so much
Very humble,
myself.
but so much deserved.
So,
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Ralph, they can see it too.
Okay. You want to,
All right, 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mike kept your Chick-fil-A card.
There's no card. Oh, let's get
And I have 2 more awards for 2 more outstanding Sandites, and they were both nominated by Mr. Sean Beer, Jay Wonder, and Bob Jackson. If you'll come join me up here, and Mr. Beer, why don't you come on up? They have taken the lead. Our IT director, Tina Moses, has been out welcoming a new baby into our family. And these 2 gentlemen have taken the lead on keeping our systems up and running. We had a software conversion, a hardware conversion, and anyone who's been in any type of corporate environment know that's usually not always an easy process. It's be frustrating, challenging, but these guys have stepped up. In addition to doing their regular job descriptions, they have also transitioned the school district into the new software format. And of course, we wouldn't expect anything less of Sandites, but we do thank you. And Mr. Beard.
So just like a Minuteman, you know, in a moment's notice when they're needed, these guys stepped forward when Tina was out of the office while she was on leave. And, you know, Jay loves data. I know he loves data, and digging into a new system like Infinite Campus was right down his alley, and he did it without complaint. And then Bob wrangling the IT team and keeping the crew together, working through the summer with all the tickets that they had and the new hardware that had to be installed. He did that without complaint. He, you know, when I approached him about it the other day, or he asked me about this award the other day, very modestly, you know, he said, I just did what I would have normally done. But a lot of people don't do that, and a lot of people don't do it without complaint. And these guys did this without complaints.
Very good job.
Well, I do have a comment too. Anybody who teaches calculus is by de facto smarter than me. We barely made it to Weenie business calculus. So, Jay really got deep into the woods and Infinite Campus and really that's like 90% of him, 10% Sean, and I help with the food service stuff. So really it was Jay. Doing a lot. And of course, Tina with a lot of the background stuff before we even started. So
Infinite Campus just does so much. I'm really excited for everybody to get to see everything it does. I mean, from the parent portal side, the student portal side, teacher side, admin side. I mean, it's fun.
do the tables, all that stuff.
We can talk pivot table.
He humors me because I don't actually partake in some of the training that I should maybe, but I can call Jay and go, okay, help me through.
Yep.
And
He's got about 30 people doing it.
yeah, I know, I'm sorry about that, but it's amazing. So you are so appreciated. All right. I'll turn your award around.
1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Although Sean.
That was the fun part of the meeting. Now we get into the nuts and bolts of what we are here to do, but this is a good opportunity for whoever would not like to stay and listen to Ms. Durkee talk. And,
Try to keep it short, but we got a lot to say, so.
get started with the student and staff empowerment.
So, a couple of attachments on the board that we like to kind of gloat about. One, I spend a lot of time talking about the 21st century and this amazing job Jamie Conrad does. You see a report that's kind of the end of the year report and the status of that program. And I think we've mentioned before, through, of course, the close help of Claudia Smith as well, running the grant, Bones in the background. She's been asked to speak nationally, and it's amazing being equipped with two leaders that make that program happen. So it's been a really intimate part of our district for several years now, and it's run just like clockwork. The second is a simple document that just shows our accreditation status by site. It's always good to report accreditation at all sites with no deficiencies. So you see that, even though it's simple, it's a big deal. And if you wanted to know the details, you'd ask Kristen Arnold, and she would totally let you know about how hard sometimes that is. And then just a little bit of note about our numbers. At the close of fiscal year 22 on the annual statistical report, we had 4,965 students at close. And today, as I pull up Infinite Campus, we have 5,180 kids that are actually attending school here in Sand Springs. So that's a tick up of 220 students this year. So we're seeing some positive gain. I did call Jay this afternoon and ask about transfer students because I really thought that maybe the open transfer law would have, the new transfer law would have an effect on the number of kids. And the truth is, from what we can glean, we have about the same number of transfers we had last year when it's all said and done, which means that kids are either coming back from virtual sites, or we're growing, which is all good for Sand Springs. So I'm really happy to report that. To the degree that we were up about 30 students at our early childhood education center. So we opened up another classroom after school started, posted an early childhood position for about a week. Proud to say that we had a certified early childhood education teacher apply. So we filled that position with a certified teacher, which is great. And then now, because Garfield enrollment is also creeping up, we have another first grade teacher position posted. So I don't know if we'll get that lucky, but all the kids are in a classroom. We just need to make sure if we have the ability to split those up. So that's good news. A good problem to have with student growth, I think. So any questions about student and staff empowerment?
Point of order, am I allowed to step in?
You are, absolutely.
Okay, I didn't know after roll
Yeah.
call if that's,
Okay.
I should know that, but I don't know that. So we'll start over.
So
Say the pledge of allegiance.
it would be reflected in the minutes that Mr. Gunn is now present.
And it's on back over.
Okay.
Sorry for my terms.
Well, we understand. Appreciate you. Happy days. So people get married, so.
Exactly.
Sir. Okay, let's go ahead, Miss.
6.
Item number 6.
Right.
Has to do with resource innovation. The first thing I had in the web file, which I thought was a great rendition that we gleaned from one of our meetings this summer, is the whole summary of impact of student household income, so that free and reduced form that we push every year, and how it affects funding for schools. And so I've been asked for a couple of years from our teachers, can you just write that up in a short rendition of why we should start school within 30 days of October 1 and how it affects funding. And so that was I think a great tool for you all to have in being able to explain that to the public. So I'm going to pass it along again to our teachers as well. That's a great resource. For facility update, the one project that we're struggling more so than what I thought we would is the PE gym remodel at Charles Page High School. So it's behind schedule. I talked to our builder last week. At that point in time, he said we're 3 weeks out. So that means 2 weeks from this week, we should be in. It had to do with back order supplies and the floor that was concrete that was really uneven. So they had to add a layer of foam underneath that subfloor, which we need to be ordered. And so it's just been a real trip. We should have that completed within the next couple of weeks. It's putting us in a position for our P classes at Charles Page High School to have to be outside or find an alternative place, which is great as long as the weather holds out. So we're making it happen. Just it was a little bit of an obstacle for us. Let's see, COSA, there's also the attachment for the OASA Vernon Florence revenue report. COSA has now taken over that report. They're trying to mimic what Vernon Florence did. I loved it because it actually had this reflection at the end of the report, which is great. Again, you're looking at the same things we've been faced with for the last year with inflationary costs, rising costs of labor and supplies for us, and just stability going forward with the possibility of kind of a dip in revenue with economic recovery in the state. So just something to keep your eyes on as we are. Christy, maybe we'll talk through that first revised budget toward the end of the agenda alongside the estimate of needs, which we had to change the time. She'll take you through that at the end of the agenda. Item number 25, I want to point out, and I will do this when we do consent agenda, as a policy first read for the misuse of bathrooms. New policy that's required for law because of the 2022 legislative session. I mentioned earlier that we had the OSSBA sample policy, which by the way was short and sweet. Basically, bathrooms shall be designated specific to the gender, boy or girl. And then just requiring students to use the gender that is on their birth certificate. And then describing, basically suggesting that those students that refuse to do that would have disciplinary action. So that's basically what the policy said. There were a couple of revisions that I mentioned based on the State Board of Education meeting. We got the OSSBA recommendation back for this meeting. So what you're seeing is a first read of the actual board policy that would be put in the books upon approval next month. So I wanted to make that clear as well. And then lastly, just safety committee, just understand that I linked because there were some discussion points last month. The committee members and denoting who they were appointed by for full transparency. So that we had a discussion about board president appointees. So I want to bring that to your attention as well. Questions about policy, facilities, resource?
Now we'll move to item number 7.
This would be about empowering families and communities. Couple of things. We had dialogue again tonight. It was not super well attended. I think Sharon Bishop Owens was one of the only person that showed up. If that continues to be the case, I'm probably going to go back to virtual dialogues. It is cumbersome on the time of our staff to be here, and really make it subject to specific on items that would be of interest to our parents and families. So likely going to move back to virtual, and then we can post that and then people can watch those at will. Meet the Teacher Nights have been going on, specifically Charles Page High School campus and the Freshman Academy held theirs last week. Great turnout, really at all campuses, but those were the most current ones. And then the last one, item number 47 is the information about board seat redistricting. So, you know, I need to mention that Mr. Mullins and Mr. Gunn actually attended with me to the Capitol. It's a very simple process, actually. So the House of Representatives does the actual map redistricting, and so was able to literally in about 20 seconds, I'm not kidding you, take the map and shift to level out the population of representation. So basically the law says there cannot be more than a 10% deviation from the most populated board district to the least populated. Very simple process. And we left with a map. She forwarded the map plus the boundary descriptions. And then I reached out to John Pretty, our legal team, just to make sure that what we had was sufficient. And I attached the email, and he definitely gave that reflection that by law, you know, legal have to have a legal description, that just a clear boundary map, which is what we have. And so I know you've seen that, but that's on the agenda to approve tonight as well. And then we can post out that those have changed slightly.
Is that affecting anybody?
Yes, so basically, Ms. Wagner and Mr. Mullins area had to have more people. And so I really believe all of them, and correct me if I'm wrong, came out of Mr. Gunn's.
All but when we did that one shift where there was kind of a little hole.
Yes.
I guess my question is, nobody on the board is.
No, so
Different areas.
no. So what they do is they take the existing board members and they arrange the population precinct lines so that we are in compliance with the law, but board members can keep their seat. So that's how that works. And there was Ms. Wagner's had a really weird kind of circle area that made no sense. So we cleaned that up a little bit. And then Mr. Mullins gained, I believe, some area to the east of his existing boundary. So I think that was, in a nutshell, it was super simple.
Amazing.
It was a cool process.
It was a cool process. Yeah.
You know, are they losing them?
Yeah. I don't think,
Everybody, they all came in.
I think they all came out of Mr. Gunn's area.
They did one.
May.
They all wanted
How
out.
how did it out? I was just happy to clean up District 1. I think Jackie is Ward Seat 1, maybe. And there was that weird little
It's all shared here.
edge. I just wanted, because people ask, do I live there? I'm like, I don't know. I can't tell by the map. So we wanted to make that clear to people. So it was simple. And that's it for that area.
All right, let's move to item number 8.
So again, continue safety conversations with school sites. You guys, we've been back just over 2 weeks now. And every school leader has literally gone over those site plans, not just about what you do in a case of an intruder or shooting, but all around school safety. We now have our codes programmed, so that's working. Each individual site has a code so that anyone can go to any phone and type in a code, very simple code, by the way, and make an announcement via the phone speaker. So it's working. We tested, which is great. RAID, the app, the governor's order is ready to implement as well. And then secondly, we continue to push information about families completing the free and reduced form. And I know I harp on that all the time. I don't mean to, but it is really important for the funding for our district and the fact that families that would qualify are no longer going to eat reduced or free. So as much as you can spread that word out, I know people are probably hearing me and sick of me saying it, but it's really important. So I think that might be it.
Any questions, comments on any of those items? If not, we'll move to the consent agenda.
Okay.
Mr. Gunn, I'll make a suggestion that item 32 be removed from the consent agenda item and look at separately.
Got a motion?
Okay, I'll make the motion. I need to.
Motion, do we have a second?
Item 32, I'd like to look at that separately from the consent agenda.
So you're a second.
I'll second.
We'll call for a vote, or do we have discussion first? what would you want to pull that out or?
We'll just put it in and work on it separately.
Transition to action, is that what you're thinking?
Right.
Transition it to an action.
Transition it to an action item, please. Not just reading what it says unless a board member desires to have a separate vote on any of,
Mhm.
or all of these items, that's going to be a separate vote on item 32.
Would you like me to? Oh,
I don't know, yet. Is it, that's,
I don't know, that requires a motion.
I don't think so. I think you're right, Mike. Just, we can pull it out.
Pull it off. Yeah. So shall I go ahead and continue the agenda?
Yeah, let's do the consent agenda.
Yeah.
Come back to 32.
So, of course, out-of-state travel isn't new, but just would bring up that we have 2 additional for out-of-state travel. 25, I would point out, GFK is actually a new policy. That's that bathroom disciplinary action for misuse of school bathrooms and changing facilities, piece that's required by law. The rest, there's a lot of committees. Of course, item 32 would be the one that Mr. Mullins is asking to vote on separately outside of the consent agenda. And then I would point out item 42, not that it's much different, except that I feel the need to bring it to your attention that we are asking for approval of contractual agreement with Brenda Sanders, who has stepped up out of retirement to help us at ECE to provide speech language services to our littles. So super excited about that. I tried to run into Brenda today at ECE. I was there before Stoll was out and I missed her, I think, because she was not in her room, but that's a big deal when you have people that come back that are Sandites that care enough about our district to offer their services and needs. So that's very exciting. And then item 44 is, while we have a co-op and we have alt school and I included it in consent, we are asking for approval to include Berry Hill schools in our interlocal agreement for alternatives. So if you'll recall, co-op agreement is 2 or more schools that agree to provide a service and we receive their money for that. And so right now I think Crew, Anderson, and now Berry Hill. So I wanted to just bring that to your attention as well. That would be new to our co-op.
Do you have any students from Berry Hill wanting to join us in that program?
I don't know, honestly, to answer that question, we have one. And on that could be the reason why the superintendent from Berry Hill called to ask to be part of our co-op. They're a neighbor. And so I think it's kind of a neighborly thing to do first of all, but then also we have an established program that's really good. So
That's probably just one kid.
correct. So that would be the content of the consent agenda.
Just gonna make a motion to approve the consent agenda item plus item number 32.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for a vote.
Mullen,
Aye.
Melvin.
Aye.
Wagers, Wagner. Aye. Gannon.
So we will go on to item 32 then in our action items now.
I was just thinking, my concern is we're setting a precedence of allowing members to be nominated to a committee as opposed to all the other committees that we have coming from the superintendent or the superintendent's people. So, and I know we talked about this last time, we had talked about the quantity that might be presented by the chairman, by the president of the board, and I know 5 was the number that was identified, and I have a problem with 5, so I have a problem with the whole thing. I like that the committees are made up of people that are recommended by our superintendent. I recognize that the policies allow the president to make nominations, and we as the board get to approve those nominations. I'll tell you, I have no problem with any of the people that have been nominated. I just have a problem with that process, so. That's the only reason I wanted to make that a separate item as opposed to the consent agenda.
Just in my speaking of that, also, I met with Sherry after that meeting we had last, and we had some more discussion, and she had even recommended that I would suggest these people to be appointed. It's questionable about the policy of whether it's an appointment or whether it's voted on by the board, but that's something we've had to figure out another time, I think. It doesn't overload the board by any means, or this committee by any means, by cross-section of our community, certainly. every person on here could speak to as to why they would be recommended to be on this particular committee at this particular time.
I'll make a motion to approve by 32 as stated.
I'll second. Any other discussion? Call for a vote.
Mullins. Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Lennon.
Aye.
Gann.
To item 45. Proposed executive session to discuss employment recommendations. Number there. Thankfully, we have employment recommendations this time. No motion for that. Then we move to item number 46 would be proposed approval of the recommendations listed in item 45.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
With recommendations.
Second.
Any discussion? Call for a vote.
Nice job, seriously. When you see the other districts around that are struggling for people, I appreciate the job, Sherry. It's just super good to see Kristen and see.
Just to speak to that for a minute, because we were, and Lisa could speak to it as well, but we were interviewed by EW Scripps, am I saying that right? A national kind of news, they have several affiliates nationwide. I'm saying that all wrong, so correct me if you need to. But nonetheless, they interviewed myself, Mr. Proud, and then a couple of our teachers at the high school. And the whole story was about picking up, honestly, Sharon's story, the leader, about our ability to retain teachers. And so we are proud of that, but I don't want to ignore the fact that there is a teacher shortage. So I don't want to represent how severe that is. We have a tendency to draw good people, and I'm really proud of that. But we also know that we're missing a speech path and a special ed teacher. So that's, should be of concern. Even districts that have the ability to attract good talent are struggling. So again, I love the fact that we have a group of people that attract good talent, and I'm going to brag about that all day. But it's still hard for a lot of other people to find folks to teach. So it needs to be highlighted.
I hear that. I'll add to that. So I think not only are we proud that you guys are able to do that and that we have a district that's desirable, but I think the exposure we're getting because of that through the news
So I think it's great.
is so great.
I agree.
And it's going to make us even more attractive.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm proud of that. I'm also thinking an uptick in enrollment is also healthy for us because I think parents see it. I know we had a little bit of a rough time the last few days of school, but I don't think that that's reflective of our heart. I think it's reflective of our community. I certainly don't think it's reflective of our school culture, which I think you can ask any of these folks that work in our district. Everybody has an obstacle that they overcome occasionally, but I would agree with you. And I love the positiveness of it.
Mike, thanks for pausing to recognize that too. Appreciate that. And call for a vote on that.
Mullins.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers.
Aye.
Wagon.
Aye.
Gann.
Item 47 is that proposed approval of the redistricting. If you've seen the map and the boundaries.
There is a resolution, I believe, in the attachments. I would say we probably need to voice the resolution.
Okay.
It's a little long, but
You have to read it.
I think we should read it together. It's long.
Who wants to read?
President.
I'll read.
You got it. You got it.
So I'm making this motion,
Correct.
whereas school districts that are currently divided into board districts for purposes of election are mandated by 70 OS 5-107A. I'm not sure what the little squiggly thing is. To reapportion the territory of the school district into board districts in the year following the submission by the United States Department of Commerce to the President of the United States of the official federal decennial census. And whereas board districts shall be compact, contiguous, and shall be as equal in population as practical with not mere than a 10% variance between the most populous and least populous board districts. And whereas the Board of Education has carefully reviewed and considered maps of the school district's population in an effort to adhere to the statutory requirements. Now therefore be it Resolved that the Board of Education, Independent School District Number 2 of Tulsa County, Oklahoma, has adopted the attached map of board districts for school board elections, which shall be utilized until such time as the district is required to be reapportioned. Adopted this 6th day of September 2022.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Well done. If not, then we will call for a vote.
Aye.
Noggle.
Aye.
Wagers. Aye. Webb.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye. And we move to item number 48, approval of our first revised budget.
So I'm gonna
Already revised. We just started.
We just started. We revise it based on get
Got it.
application.
Got it.
So remember the June first budget is just not a guess, we're pretty sharp. But it is prior to the allocation amount of state aid. So Christie, I'm going to refer to you for that.
As Superintendent Durkee said, especially with me being with the school district, just the first little bit, it was a good experience for me, even though I've done budgets in other areas. And so yes, I mean, if you want to look, see, this is page 4 for the general fund. Basically, you're going to go down through here and look and see our first revised budget has a little bit of an uptick on property taxes from what I estimated in the beginning. I estimated a 3% increase based upon talks with our assessors in both counties. And it, once we got the estimate of needs in, it came in just a little bit above that. So I'd much rather be conservative and then let them tell me if they think it's going to be more, which is nice. If you go down through here a little bit further, especially if you go down to the bottom, you're going to see on total revenues that we are estimating to come in with about just, $500,000 more in there and a little bit more than that. A lot of these, if you look in your revised budget column, is going to show different things such as different federal programs where we finally got better estimates of what we're going to be receiving and allocated. And so those adjustments have been made there. You're going to see, like, for example, under 3420 state textbooks, they actually went down from what we thought it was going to be, which is, we're not happy about that, but we understand. Same thing on Reading Sufficiency Act. Thanks to Claudia for doing such a good job of helping get me updated numbers on all of these programs, and I appreciate her assistance with that. If you look at 3210, the Foundation and Salary Incentive Aid, kudos to our Superintendent Durkee, who did a very good job of estimating. I was still learning at the time, and she did a very good job of estimating, because if you see, she came in about $50,000 from where we were actually where we actually were. So she's all over it. She knows how to do it. So with that in mind, one of the things you will notice if you look at our prior year balance, fund balance forward, do not be alarmed. There is a little bit of a dip in our fund balance, but that is only because with the, I'm going to call it COVID money, all of the different names that are assigned to that, we have to, and I'm preaching to the choir, you know this, we have to spend the money and then get reimbursed for it. So we're literally, the district is floating the money, spending it, and then getting reimbursed. And so we did have a dip in our fund balance as we floated that money, and within like a week or less after the new fiscal year came in, then we shot right back up. So it's not no concern whatsoever. Actually, it was kind of fun. Me and my predecessor that was in this position for a few months had a game going in a way of trying to figure out what the fund balance was going to be. And he actually predicted this, and I was actually saying something different. And it's because I was taking into account the COVID bounce and in the money, and he didn't. He was doing an actual. So
I didn't help that I was every baby day saying get the fund balance. Little pressure.
surely it's, had we not had that COVID dip that we're talking about, we probably were looking around maybe $250,000 to the good. When we actually didn't, but you won't see that here just for that reason, but it's already been received back in and in the bank.
Let's see, this is, we still got what is that, 12%
Yes,
fund balance?
yes, we're in good, the district is in good shape. And then if you just scroll down through here a little bit further, basically the estimated expenditures have been updated to reflect what we think the revenue that are better picture of the revenue. And so we've just added across the board into areas that we felt like were needed. We're still taking into account inflation in different areas, to take into account gasoline, energy prices, even as far as like maintenance supplies, different things like that, that consistently we are seeing ticks in inflation, which we're not happy with, but we know are real. So we've put those in there, kept those in. Same thing, as you go through on co-op fund on page 6, you're going to see a little bit of an adjustment in our budget based upon what we believe we're going to be getting. And same thing, a lot of these funds are going to stay the same, but if you do see an uptick or downtick, it's just us adjusting where we think we are going to be based on better numbers and better knowledge at this point. But overall, I believe the district is very healthy. The estimate of needs, of course, with us being on School Budget Act, doesn't really address as much of what it would for another district as it does for us. But I think we're in very good shape, and we have some very good numbers to run off of going forward.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we approve item number 48, the first revised budget for the 22-23 school year. Presented.
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Yeah, great job. Thank you. And then we'll call for a vote.
Mullins.
Aye.
Noble.
Aye.
Wagers. Aye. Wagner. Aye. Karen.
Aye. And item number 49, proposed approval of the estimate needs 2022-23 school year.
I'll go ahead and let you take that as well.
Okay. I mean, basically, sorry, let's go to it. As I said, the estimate of needs, not being, if we were not on the School Budget Act, then you would see a lot more in here and different things for us. But basically, the estimate needs from the auditors basically just project that we are going to, page is this. Sorry, it goes through, I know y'all have seen these before, but it's going to, starting on page 7, it's going to run through bonds and continue to tell us exactly where we need to be for our funding, what everything needs to be as far as assessing and the tax revenue that needs to come in. And it falls exactly in line with where we expected it to be. In fact, it's actually not much different than what we had before. And if you look on page 20 of 21, you will also see the estimates for the general fund and the building fund. You won't see, of course, co-op or child nutrition. You'll see the sinking fund there as well. And you will also see the valuations from Tulsa and Osage on there. And they all fell right in line with where we thought we were going to be. And so I have full confidence in this estimate of needs and would recommend.
It's the standard for what we know we're going to need for a sinking fund as well, which is what that dictates to us. We did see in a net assessed value growth this year. Christy, do you remember the percentage from last year? I want to say it was just at 7%.
Yeah, it was in between, I mean, it was like 7.3 in there. So yeah, it was more healthier growth than what we'd anticipated.
So just kind of to give you a cap of what that means, it expands our bonding capacity, which is great. So when you get a 7% growth, when Mr. Morris and I set up the bonds for 2019, we did a prediction of 1% NAV growth, which is super conservative, meaning our tax base isn't going to be under collecting to pay the bonds off. When you see a 7% growth, what that says is you have a better bonding capacity, which is really good news for us. So all of it was healthy. I'm really excited about that. I think we're seeing evidence of the growth in our city. Some new housing additions that are going in, I think add to that expansion of NAV, which is good for us. So all things looking up. I mean, increased enrollment, increased net assessed value, those are all the things for Sand Springs.
How often is that reevaluated
A year.
set? So it's just at the beginning of the year,
September is
September.
Yeah, they try. I always kind of stress about them getting us that information, but September is when we have to have it on the board agenda for approval. And so usually it's running toward the end of August before they get it to us. So about the time school
I
starts.
won't say which one, but one of the counties we would have got it sooner. One of the counties was able to get their stuff in as quickly as the other. So
Also is right on time. Also,
I see with the increase of 250 students or whatever, 264, you said And that shows there's probably more rooftops in the Sand Springs.
Exactly.
So that's a good sign.
Well, I've been preaching that for a while. I know you guys have heard me talk about in city meetings and more. Anytime I get an ear about struggling with people that were moving in, finding adequate housing. I still think it's hard in Sand Springs. I think the housing market, you get one that comes up and it's gone like that. Christy's going, yes, that's the case. So it's still a struggle, but I think there's more concerted effort into helping build more rooftops too. It's good.
All right, do we have a motion to approve?
We'll make a motion
Oh, is it?
to approve the proposed estimate of needs for the 22-23 school year.
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion? Call for a vote, please.
Mullins,
Aye.
Noble.
Aye.
Bleachers.
Aye.
Wyman.
Aye.
And
Aye. Item number 50, any matter not known about, reasonably unforeseen prior to posting this.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
This is in the packet.
So that wasn't for discussion tonight. Beth she does this every year early, so you guys can get a chance to look at it, but this would be just highlight of meetings that could be possible for next year. This was done, Mr. Noel, prior to your text today. So this is not in stone at all. It's just for your purview to look at. Because remember the rhythm is we approve the board meetings for the following year in November. So we've got a month or two to go, but it gives you a chance to look at it. I know you were, yeah, that's what that is.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any announcements, item 51?
There is none today.
If not, then I would make a motion that we adjourn.
Thank
Discussion. Call for vote, please.
Mullins, Noble.
you. Aye.
Bleachers.
I'm sorry.
Wagner. Again. Aye. Okay. Again.
Aye.